Football fans, you won't believe what happened next, so stick around because this is the story everyone's talking about. Paris Saint-Germain finally did it. They crushed Inter Milan 5-0 in the 2025 Champions League final, an epic win that had the whole world watching. Instantly, Paris exploded with pure joy. Thousands of fans hit the streets, living their ultimate football fantasy. Can you imagine the energy? Even Ousmane Dembele went live, urging everyone to keep it chill and celebrate peacefully. But let's be real, did anyone listen? Nope. The party vibe flipped in seconds. Suddenly, chaos and riots took over the city. What started as a legendary night for PSG fans turned into a wild, violent scene. Why does this always happen in France? Massive crowds clashed with police and the chaos spread like wildfire. Have you ever seen celebrations spiral out of control like this? The city's dream of a peaceful party? Totally shattered. The scale of these riots, insane. It's a sign of deeper issues bubbling under the surface in Paris. Instead of unity, the night became infamous for destruction and heartbreak. The contrast was wild. 1 minute, pure joy, the next, total mayhem. Which side would you have been on? Burning cars, shattered windows, these were the new symbols of the night, not exactly the highlight reel PSG fans wanted. And it wasn't just a few troublemakers. The unrest swept through entire neighborhoods. Paris's dream celebration, it turned into a full-blown nightmare. Violence exposed deep, hidden tensions that had been simmering for years. Once again, Paris found itself in the global spotlight, not for football glory, but for chaos in the streets. This isn't a one-off. Why do French football celebrations so often end in disaster? Drop your theories in the comments. The scars from that night, they're still visible all over the city. Instead of celebrating a historic win, most people remember the violence and destruction. Would you have stayed to party or run for cover? So here's the big question. Why does this keep happening in France? Hit like if you want answers and let's dive deeper. The riots had terrible results. 2 people died. 192 people were injured, including 22 police officers and 7 firefighters. More than 400 cars were set ablaze. 559 arrests, including 490 in Paris alone. This sad event overshadowed PSG's win, turning celebration into sadness. Stores were robbed, windows were broken, and businesses were trashed. Owners who hoped to join the party instead faced ruin. The money lost was huge, with costs for repairs and damages adding up. Public property was also damaged, bus stops were destroyed, cars were set on fire. Paris streets showed the scars of a night that went wrong. The destruction messed up daily life and left people feeling scared. Police faced direct attacks, with officers being targeted by rioters. Police struggled to bring order back amid the chaos and anger. Over 500 people were arrested, showing how big the trouble was. The large number of arrests showed how quickly things got out of control. The violence wasn't just random, it was planned and widespread. The attacks on police were a direct challenge to the government's power. The aftermath left the city hurting, both emotionally and financially. The cost of rebuilding will be felt for months, maybe even years. For many, the destruction of the night was a harsh reminder of bigger problems. The city's spirit was tested, and its wounds will take time to heal. The violence left a mark not just on Paris, but on the whole country's mind. The question remains, how can such destruction follow a moment of great success? The Champs-Élysées, usually a symbol of celebration, became a battleground. Rioters attacked police with fireworks and objects, turning the street into chaos. Smoke, sirens and fire filled the night as police defended themselves. The intensity shocked locals and the world, with images of burning barricades and thick smoke broadcast globally. The violence was planned for maximum attention, leaving a lasting impression and raising questions about safety and public order in France. The French government reacted with anger. Interior Minister Bruno Retailleau called the rioters barbarians, saying they were not real fans. He insisted these were not supporters but criminals, using the celebration as an excuse. The government's message was clear: no tolerance for violence. Authorities promised to punish the hundreds arrested and bring back order. Retailleau accused the rioters of wanting to fight, not celebrate. The official story said the violence was crime, not passion for football. This stance aimed to calm the public and show control. The government's strong words were meant to stop future trouble. By calling the rioters outsiders, officials tried to protect the sport's image. The response was quick, promising strong action against those responsible. The government stressed its duty to protect citizens and property. This story also helped to focus public anger on a specific group. However, critics argued this way of thinking made the problem too simple. The real reasons behind the violence are more complicated than official statements suggest. The government's reaction set the tone for the national discussion. The challenge of bringing back order and trust remains. Like and subscribe to Smarto Brains for more engaging deep dives into sociology, economics and social policy. The riots quickly became a political tool. The National Rally Party blamed the government for not stopping the chaos. Jordan Bardella called the events a disaster, pointing fingers at Interior Minister Retailleau. The right-wing parties accused authorities of being unprepared and not good at their job. Opposition parties used the moment to criticize the leaders and their policies. On the left, critics said that Retailleau's harsh words only made tensions worse. They claimed calling rioters barbarians was meant to provoke and didn't help. The debate showed deep political differences over public order and policing. Each side used the violence to push their own goals. The blame game overshadowed real solutions. Political fighting made it harder to deal with the root causes. The lack of agreement left the public feeling frustrated and worried. The issue of football violence became a reflection of bigger social divides. Instead of unity, the aftermath showed a broken political landscape. The search for answers was lost in a sea of accusations. The final wasn't the first time PSG celebrations turned violent in 2025. Just weeks before, after beating Arsenal in the semi-final, similar chaos broke out. Cars burned, including a police car, and shops were robbed. The pattern was clear. Victory celebrations quickly turned into disorder. The repetition suggested authorities hadn't learned from the earlier event. The same methods, the same destruction, the same feeling of lawlessness. These weren't isolated incidents, but part of a worrying trend. Some people used football as an excuse for violence and crime. The repeated events raised questions about how effective security measures were. Authorities struggled to adapt, and the cycle continued. The violence showed gaps in planning and prevention. The city's inability to stop repeated incidents was alarming. The pattern pointed to deeper problems within the fan base and beyond. Without new plans, the risk of future trouble remains high. The lessons from the semi-final were not learned, leading to costly consequences. Football violence in France isn't just limited to club matches. In 2022, after France beat Morocco in the World Cup semi-final, chaos broke out across the country. Paris and other cities saw celebrations turn into violent fights. The disorder was widespread, not just a problem in Paris. National team victories meant to bring people together sometimes showed deep divisions. The scenes were described as street fighting, far from festive. Organized groups fought with police, and the violence was severe. The size of the trouble showed the problem was national, not just local. Even moments of national pride were ruined by conflict. The violence went beyond football rivalries, hinting at bigger social tensions. The country's unity was tested, and the world noticed. The events raised concerns about public safety during big celebrations. The strange mix of national joy and street violence became impossible to ignore. The 2022 World Cup showed how complicated the issue is. The challenge, how to celebrate together without falling into chaos. The pattern of violence after football wins goes back years. In 2018, France's World Cup win led to nationwide celebrations and riots. Over 300 arrests were made in Paris alone. What should have been pure happiness was ruined by vandalism and fights. Police faced violence and dozens of officers were hurt. The size of the trouble highlighted the risks of large emotional gatherings. Even huge security couldn't stop chaos. The violence showed the difficulties of policing such events. The toll on law enforcement was significant and long-lasting. The repeated trouble showed the problem wasn't new or isolated. Both club and national team victories led to similar scenes. The causes were deeper than football itself. Authorities struggled to find lasting solutions. The cycle of celebration and violence became a troubling tradition. The need for a new approach became more urgent with each incident. Why do French football celebrations so often turn violent? The answer is far from simple. It's a complex web of social, economic, and historical factors that converge on these nights of national excitement. Social tensions simmer in many French cities, especially in urban neighborhoods marked by high unemployment, poverty, and a sense of exclusion. According to Ensuing, France's National Statistics Bureau, youth unemployment in some banlieues, suburban districts often home to large immigrant populations, can exceed 30%, more than double the national average. In these environments, football celebrations can become a flashpoint. Large crowds provide cover for those looking to express anger, frustration, or simply to commit crimes. Sociologists point out that football is often the trigger, not the root cause. Deeper grievances, ranging from discrimination to lack of opportunity, fuel the unrest. The chaos of celebration is sometimes exploited by a minority intent on looting or vandalism. In 2018, during the World Cup victory celebrations, over 1,800 people were arrested nationwide. The French Ministry of the Interior reported that a significant proportion were young men from immigrant backgrounds, with Paris police stating that more than 60% of those detained during football-related riots in 2022 were either foreign-born or second-generation immigrants. But it's not just about immigration. Socio-economic factors play a huge role. A 2023 report by the Institut Montaigne found that neighborhoods with higher immigrant populations experienced up to 3 times more incidents of public disorder during major football events compared to other areas. However, these same neighborhoods also face higher rates of poverty, overcrowded housing, and limited access to public services. The challenge for police is immense. It's difficult to distinguish between genuine fans and those intent on causing trouble, especially in the heat of celebration. Government rhetoric, such as labeling rioters barbarians, can oversimplify the issue and risk alienating entire communities. Real solutions require more than just policing. Community involvement, investment in youth programs, and efforts to address social inequality are essential. The future of public celebrations depends on learning from the past and building trust between authorities and communities. At the heart of the unrest, one fact stands out. Mass immigration is a significant factor in the riots that follow French football celebrations. But it's intertwined with broader issues: historical patterns of migration, the legacy of colonialism, and decades of urban policy that have concentrated disadvantage in certain neighborhoods. According to the French Ministry of the Interior, in the aftermath of the 2018 World Cup, over 1,800 people were arrested nationwide, with a significant proportion being young men from immigrant backgrounds. In Paris alone, police reported that more than 60% of those detained during football-related riots in 2022 were either foreign-born or second-generation immigrants. A 2023 report by the Institut Montaigne found that neighborhoods with higher immigrant populations experienced up to 3 times more incidents of public disorder during major football events compared to other areas. These statistics highlight the complex link between integration challenges and the violence that sometimes erupts during celebrations. But experts caution against drawing simple conclusions. Many young people from immigrant backgrounds celebrate peacefully and are themselves victims of negative stereotypes. Addressing these issues is crucial for building a safer, more united France. That means tackling the root causes, improving education, creating jobs, investing in neglected neighborhoods, and fostering a sense of belonging for all citizens, regardless of background. The spirit of sport should bring people together, not divide them. France faces a vital challenge, making celebrations safe and joyful for everyone, while confronting the deep-seated issues that sometimes turn joy into unrest. Only by addressing both the symptoms and the causes can the nation hope to protect both joy and order in the future. If you found this deep dive insightful, don't forget to like and subscribe to Smarter Brains for more engaging explorations into recent news, politics, sociology, economics, and social policy. Stay curious, stay informed, and join us for the next big story.